But a player who has come out and announced his retirement, we're not reading the tea leaves on this one, Michael Bradley of Toronto FC, longtime representative of the United States, has come out and said that Saturday will be his final game. He obviously, as we know, plays for Toronto FC. He's the captain. He won a title with them. He helped the Americans qualify for World Cups. So he is calling it a career, gentlemen. Jordan, I'll just start with you. What will his legacy be? I mean, we could talk about his legacy in general, but maybe that's how you want to approach it. Legacy in general or legacy with Toronto FC? How will you remember Michael Bradley?
Well, I'll do a quick one just of his legacy in general, and then I'll go into his legacy with TFC. But Heerenveen in the Netherlands from 06 to 08. I remember being a kid and wanting to play in Europe, and there weren't too many North Americans that were doing it. Yeah, there's a handful. You got the Stalteris, Jim Brennans, Craig Fords. There were guys that did it as Canadians, and then we'll just group them all together as North Americans. Michael Bradley was one that was doing it from a young age overseas, right, and playing. And then even going to Roma in 2012 and 14, he was at Kiev before. Like, he was a guy stable that was playing, like, as an American in Europe, playing and doing well. When he came to TFC in 2014, and he was a huge part of 16 going to the final, 17 winning, just being a captain and being a guy that you could always rely on in the dressing room. Even players I talked to, also people that look up to him because he just brought it every single day. And you hate to see it as a professional, as a player, because sometimes people are just thinking about your last year or 2 years as a season. But the cumulative, the whole career of him putting it in and day out and kind of lighting the torch, he's been magnificent. In 2017, when I went with Oso as a friend to go see TFC, two things stood out to me that night. Josie Altidore is massive. I felt like a chocolate-covered almond in his hands. I hailed him, and he just, like, smothered me. I was like, goodness gracious, I need to hit the weight room. And then I wasn't starstruck with Gio Vinco. I wasn't starstruck with anyone else. Michael Bradley, when I took hey, man, can I get a picture? I took a picture of him. I was like, man, he just has presence. Like, his football knowledge, also me just being a defensive midfielder, like what he's done for the game, how he's played for America at World Cups for qualifying. This is a guy who's just like a tried and true professional. And you hate to see it when obviously Father Time and you kick in and you can't run or play the same way that you used to and you got to retire. But for the glory years, you don't go past too many names without saying Michael Bradley for TFC. And if he's ever listening, I just want to commend him because he was that guy for that position I always looked up to as a kid and as a young adult. So it'll be sad to see him go, but I'm just grateful for the time that he had and that we got to watch him do it in the city that we all love.
Ollie, how will you remember him?
Well, I mean, Jordan said it really well there, and I think all the tributes that we've heard over the past couple of days have been well earned. There's no question at all, anyone who's been around him, about the level of his dedication, his commitment to his craft. He was the ultimate professional. His impact on Toronto FC has obviously been immense, as many people have been over, and deservedly and rightly so. And also the quality and his accomplishments outside of North America as well. Like, any Canadian American who goes to Europe and has a sustained professional career in Europe has my respect. I think it's really difficult to do. You're always a little bit of a second-class citizen trying to, earn the right to play there. To play central midfield, to start in central midfield for Roma as a North American, like that's impressive stuff. There's not many players that have done that in the history of the sport on this continent. So incredible career in that regards. And what I find, really interesting about Michael Bradley in some ways, and I'm not saying this all defines his legacy, I think the successes are what should be talked about, but he's been a player as well of real extremes. Like, I think as much as he's had a tremendous amount of success in his career, he's also had to suffer at times. He's been to 3 MLS Cup finals with TFC. He's been a part of what most people consider the best MLS team ever, the captain, not just a part of it. But also in the other 7 seasons he's been in Toronto, he hasn't won a playoff game, and he's had to go through some real lows during that time as well. And then you look at the US men's national team, back-to-back World Cup knockout stages, the only time they've done that as a national team. Again, a huge part of that side, the center of the sides in many ways. But then also Trinidad and the debacle of not qualifying in 2018. Like, it's been a career where there really has been a little bit of everything, and some amazing highs, but also some real lows that he's had to deal with. So, yeah, one that you can say a lot about in terms of all that he's experienced and accomplished.
I never understood that some fans booing him whenever he comes into the stadium. He's one player whose commitment to the game and trying to put himself in a position to do what's best for the team is unmatched. That's one thing that you can never question about Michael Bradley, his commitment, his determination, and how he sets the tone over the course of his decade at Toronto FC. First one in the building, last one to leave in terms of the players. And he'd hold players accountable and perhaps rubbed some players the wrong way that didn't want to compete on the same level as him. That's what this man is all about. Think about it. Like, he joined Toronto FC at the same time as Jermaine Defoe. It seems like a lifetime ago. And the man is still here today. I just look at the injury that he suffered in the 2019 MLS Cup final in Seattle. He had a bad injury that game, had to have surgery. He's been fighting his body ever since. Really, he's just never been able to fully get back to that form, because heading into that game and that season, he was outstanding. I guarantee he would continue playing today if his body would allow him to. But another reason why I respect him so much is, despite his body betraying him, like if you did a scan of his legs, his hamstring, his knees right now, you're like, how is this guy playing? But he doesn't make excuses. For a team that's losing game after game after game, he's still willing to sacrifice for the greater good. That sort of leadership is something that continues to drift out of the game to a certain degree. People that are made like Michael Bradley, he is now a rare breed, where it seemed to be mandatory just a few decades ago. Also, he fully embraced the city of Toronto, the new country that he lived in, and everything that it stands for. I'm actually a little bit surprised that he's not getting as much love widespread across the Canadian sporting landscape as the man deserves right now. If we are a soccer country, if we care about our athletes, even if you're a sports fan, he resembles everything that you want in a player that you want to go out and love. Blue collar, willing to work hard, do whatever it takes for the badge. And even the way that TFC's handled it, like acknowledging his 300th appearance for the club, the second home game after he went out and did it, like this is a player for any other club in the world. There's a massive press conference around. He hasn't been doing press here over the last couple of months. It's just an awkward ending, and I think the player has been through a lot this season. And for me, he just deserves better, just in terms of what he's brought to the table and what he's meant to Toronto FC over the years. And I hope that he really understands that the hardcore soccer supporter, the hardcore fan, people really recognize what he sacrificed in order to put himself in the position that he's had over the course of a very lengthy and very successful career. So congratulations to him on that.
You mentioned Jermaine Defoe, 2014. That was the bloody big deal. And it was Michael Bradley who helped make it a bloody big deal. And it was after that that Josie Altidore, Sebastian Giovinco ended up joining. And we all know what they were able to do with Toronto FC and basically take this team that had accomplished nothing, hadn't even made the playoffs. To your point, Wheels, making finals and, of course, winning the title in 2017. And I know in sports, we always love to have these like little games. If you were going to create bronze statues outside of BMO Field, who's going to be like one of the first that you put up? How is Michael Bradley not there? How is Bradley, Giovinco, and Josie? Like, those for sure are your three, right? And then if we had to, like, do our top five, we can, like maybe Oso's there. Like, that's what I mean. But to me, those are like your immediate three. Bradley's there. Bradley is your bronze statue.